Welcome everybody back to episode 27 of the Synthwave Hangout. I'm very glad to see the chat is already so hopping. There's so many amazing people in this chat. So some people that are here often, some new people. I'm really grateful for everybody who is here. You know me. My name is Memory Design.
And I am Woren.
And we are here with a very special guest, somebody we're very excited about. With everybody, please welcome Jamie and Brian from Chroma Cloud. How are you guys doing?
Hey.
Hey, doing all right. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. That's my biggest fear, Dominic knows, is that like a catastrophic mic failure right when I introduce somebody. So that is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, radio silence for the next 2 hours. We're still waiting.
Yeah, longtime listeners will know that Dominic used to do that to me on purpose, which I really loved and appreciated. I would introduce me, and then he would wait for like the longest 10 seconds of my life.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
so
It was very funny every time. Yeah,
yeah, hilarious. I loved it.
I'm sure it didn't get old super quick either.
No, and we still do it. None of our jokes get old. None of them do.
Yeah, we're old dads, so nothing's
right. That's right.
It's repetition is the key.
So I'm so glad to have you guys on. Thank you for making the time. I know it's kind of rough on a weekday at 10 a.m. So no matter how you guys did it, I appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm seeing Craig already in the chat here. Should we get the Craig question out right away so we can lob a few more later in the chat?
Craig.
Yeah, let's get it out. Let's do this.
All right, Craig, of course, wants to know your favorite breakfast cereals, and then we will continue bringing this up throughout the rest of the show.
Jamie?
I would have to say probably Lucky Charms.
Ooh, that's my favorite. Don't tell anyone, though.
Dude, no shame, though. That's like the classic Saturday morning cartoon. You get a dry bowl of dry Lucky Charms and just jam out to, Animaniacs for the next couple hours.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, if you're going to have cereal, it has to be fun.
Right. It has to be fun.
I was always a Captain Crunch guy myself.
Oh, Captain Crunch. Yeah, that'd have to be my second favorite.
You get a lot of roof of your mouth
like
cutting.
Peanut Butter Crunch more than the Captain Crunch or Crunch Berries.
Ooh,
really
interesting choice.
Yeah. But my choice is actually Golden Grams.
Oh, that's a good one. We haven't heard that yet.
And I haven't heard Golden. I love how this have Golden Grams.
I love how this has become part of the show now, thanks to Craig Beckman. We used to get on and talk about real serious stuff, and now it's just about breakfast cereals and morning cartoons and everything. But hey, whatever, it's all good.
The fans need to know what to expect.
Right. So we have a lot I want to get to, and we never have enough time for anything, right? Like all these kind of shows. But the format of this show, like I've told you, is more of just kind of a hangout, almost like a podcast environment, where we can really bring up and talk about anything. I mean, I'm sure we're going to want to talk about new music and all sorts of stuff and whatnot. But the question I have for you guys is, I'm very curious always how a project like this comes together, because you're both very talented. I'm just curious, how did you guys meet and come together to form Chroma Cloud?
Yeah, Jamie, you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah. So I met Brian. There was a couple who have a band called the Castros, and it's probably been like 9 years ago or more that I was opening for them, and Brian was doing the sound at the time at the venue that I was playing. And so we met, and we did a song together, like recorded, and then we just kind of collaborated again later after COVID, and just started recording music, and then so that's
like a real organic kind of meeting, right?
Yeah,
and just accidental combo. That's
Absolutely.
the best. That's the best.
Yeah, and I've been wanting to do like synthwave 80s, some kind of like retro inspired project for years, and always wanted to partner with someone that I thought could match that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamie and I are always talking about songs and bands from the 80s that we love. And so it was just a text one day. I was like, hey, super soft pitch, but
right.
Do you want to get real serious and start a band?
And at first I was just kind of like, I think he's just saying this. I don't think he really wants to do it. Like, he's just asking me would you want to? And I'm like, I mean, sure, yeah. And then he like kind of asked me a couple more times, like, would you really want to do it? And I'm like, oh, he's serious. He wants to really do this. This is cool. And I'm like, yeah. Right. Because, you know, what he was saying was like 80s, but modern and synths and all the things that I absolutely love that I don't normally do with my solo stuff. So I was all about it.
Yeah. That is that kind of situation that happens all the time with people where it's like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And then like next Christmas, you know, you hear back from them and they're like, weren't we working on something at some point? What was that idea we had together?
Like Dave and I we were busking in Toronto on the same street on the same corner. That's how we met. Yeah, you know. So,
that's true, but that's our secret. That's our secret. You always let our secrets out during the show.
Yeah, we both had old school synthesizers just standing on the same corner. Right, you know, just trying to make some extra cash, and then that's when we made it
disastrous.
Right. Yeah. I heard the Phil Collins drum breakdown from down the block, and I was like, "Who is that?" And I just came down and we
made it happen.
We just made it happen. Right.
Little did he know that's all I knew. I just kept doing the same, same breakdown, the same drum,
just over and over again.
That's all I did.
It works.
Yeah, over and over.
Well, I'm glad that you guys did decide to go forward because your stuff is excellent, and I always love this kind of a duo in synthwave, like a really, really good singer and a really good producer. But Jamie, do you do any of the music production for Chroma, or is it all Brian?
It's all Brian. Okay. Yeah, I mean. I'll write a song or he'll send me some tracks that don't have any like lyrics or anything.
Yeah.
So we kind of do it differently. Like sometimes I present just me and my guitar and I'll send it to him and the next thing I know he's got like the freaking tracks done like and it's amazing. Like it's nothing and it's not even anything that I would even think of. So
that's the best.
Yeah, like I totally trust him. Like I just give him what I have and then he makes it the magic, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's
working
dream,
with him.
Man, right there.
Yeah, this doesn't surprise me. Just from the limited time I've been following the Chroma Cloud account and like seeing some of this stuff, I have a suspicion that Brian knows what's happening musically and can make it work.
He really does.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely do it full time.
We were joking about this before the show. I push random buttons until a song comes out.
Right.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
You're pressing the right buttons. You're pressing the right buttons. Yeah. So
well, thank you.
You should keep doing that. So I'm curious about this. In those videos, at least, I see a lot of actual synthesizers. You know, is that correct? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you use regularly? Do you use non-analog synths? I mean, what's your setup?
Yeah. So most of what I do is, for sure. Most of what I do is actually in the box. I'm trying to acquire more analog synths, but that's an expensive hobby.
Right. And vintage ones.
Is wonderful. I love MIDI land.
Right, and vintage ones break all the time, and it's hard to get them repaired, and that's even more expensive.
Indeed. Yeah, and there's companies like Arturia that are doing great emulations of old school.
Love Arturia.
It's like they just came out with a new version of their flagship collection, and it has a Jupe 8 or a Jupe 8000 on it, which I'm loving, by the way. But as far as like analog stuff, I don't have a ton. I'm using the Korg MS-20 full size. I've got the mini log also from Korg, the Arturia. Matrix Brute, not even the Poly Brute, and then I've got a Mother 32.
Interesting. I've always been
You definitely need more.
Yeah, you definitely need more for sure.
I know.
That is the way.
I think that's the funny thing about all of us, right? Is like, I think we could have like a whole wall of synths and guitars.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I think I need one.
And don't let your family or your bank tell you otherwise. I mean, they're just trying to get you down.
Exactly.
They're just trying to get you down.
What is debt really?
Right. Who needs
debt is a frame of mind.
Right. Who needs a house when you can have a storage locker? I mean, let's get real here.
Yeah.
And my roof is synths.
Right. You ever get a chance to play any like old school stuff, like legit Junos or anything like that?
Every now and then, I've got a couple friends that have some really nice gear, and they're kind enough to let me play with it. But that's about as far as I go. Just because like I said, man, it's hard to acquire that stuff and like actually be able to justify it, especially since there's so much that I can do in the box for a lot more affordable.
Oh,
and
for
it
sure.
Still sounds great.
Yeah, the Analog V collection, the 5 collection is what I have, and that is incredible. And I've worked with some people in the past, and I'm like, they have almost everything that you can think of from like that era, like singers, and like, oh, do they have this one or that one? I forget the names with ones with the little like computer screens on them and stuff like that. I'm like, yep,
yeah, like the EMU and the CMI, yeah, those are great,
right? And so, they're like, well, Janet Jackson used this one synth in this song. Do you have it? And it's like, yep, I do. It's right here.
I'm waiting for them to come out with a decent D50 emulator.
I'm not familiar with what is the D50.
That's the only thing I'm missing right now. I've got the Roland Cloud version of it, but it's
okay.
Not a fan.
Not a fan. You guys just made me think of was have you ever gone to play like go over to hang out at somebody's house who's like very talented at one instrument, and then they're like, go ahead, play it, and then you're just looking at them like,
here's your opportunity, shine.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I've got.
That's why I took on production, because I can just hit a button and say that was good. Now do it again.
Right.
I was just saying, like, I always think about like that little awkward moment when you're even when you're first starting out, like you get like somebody who's like extremely talented at something, and then they're like play it, and they're like, what do you got? And you're like, nah, nothing. Like,
yeah,
just,
nothing.
I kind of fiddle around on it. Like,
yeah, I've got some friends that are like really into guitar players. They, they're older now, so they have a lot of money. They have got these insane guitars, and whenever I'm over there, they're like, hey, why don't you just you can play it. I'm like, okay. Like, and it's like do like, let me just strum some open chords for you here on this. I'm like, here, why don't you hold it? Right.
Well, actually, that's how I really got started with my passion for music. Was I found a guitar in the basement when I was like 11.
Yep.
And I had piano lessons before that, and I couldn't be bothered to practice or anything. But once I discovered the guitar, I was like, man, this is it. I have discovered something really, really cool. And so like all through middle school and high school, I was obsessed with like, Dream Theater and Rush and all this like progressive rock and progressive metal, and wanted to be the fastest guitarist alive, which is a super marketable skill.
Right.
But then it's something like 16. I think it was 16. I got a cracked version of Fruity Loops 3.
Nice.
And this is before FL Studio. And I discovered this whole new thing that I could do. I could arrange, I could, make new sounds. And what the heck is a compressor? That's a weird thing. And so it was just a giant rabbit hole.
A compressor.
And so I used to be a really good lead guitarist. Now I can rhythm if I have to.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've always been rhythm. I don't know why.
I'm sure you could play. Go ahead, dude. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say I've always been rhythm. I don't know why. I've actually a very similar story to yours. Like same, found a guitar in the basement, But like I wanted it to be like the best rhythm guitarist, which is ridiculous.
That's a really cool aspiration, actually.
I don't know why. I just always enjoyed coming up with like the cool, unique, rhythms, because I was never really technically proficient. Like I couldn't make the fingers. I can't make them dance like some people do.
Yeah, the rhythm. It's like being an exceptional bass player. You can be a very bad to average bass player and make it work in a band, right? But if you're an exceptional bass player,
there's power in it,
right?
There's power in it,
right?
Like I remember an interview with Devin Townsend, who's just a metal guitar genius, and he was starting to learn bass guitar. And he was saying, like, you'll be in a room full of these, incredible shredding guitarists, and they'll battle back and forth. And I'm sitting over here with the bass guitar saying, okay, well, until I change my mind, we're in G.
Right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, not even that. It's just like because I'm a bassist at heart. Like that's where I started first, was bass, and then acoustic guitar and stuff like that. And the bass to me is always it's just a major foundation of everything. It makes everything. You can literally change the whole mood of a song.
Absolutely.
How it's being played, and Yeah, so
Yeah, that's
I don't
what
know.
I'm saying. Like, even if you're like a mid-level to low-level skill bass player, your addition to the band is sound changing, especially live. I would say.
Absolutely, it is.
I mean, like, I've seen metal bands before that have just 3 guitar players, and it doesn't have the same sound. It doesn't have that low-end sound.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So
From a periphery.
no, I mean, like in my experience, you know, seeing bands in bars and that kind of stuff, just
Understand.
growing up, right? And so it's like there's sometimes where you have 3 incredible lead guitar players, and the idea behind the band is like, look how awesome we all are, right? And it sounds like this teeny drum-filled nightmare, you know, live, because there's no low end.
Yeah, and you know that's the funny thing about how all that works, because like I said, nobody actually wants to play bass either. Did you ever notice that? Like nobody ever wants. Like,
Well, you're talking
I
when
had
it's
to-
like a guitar player and like, okay, who's gonna play bass in this band?
right? Yeah. I remember I was playing in a metalcore band, and I actually was writing the guitar parts, like the rhythm parts and everything, and I ended up just playing the bass and then letting everyone else play the guitar parts. So nobody else wanted to play bass. I'm like, I got it. Don't worry.
It's awful noble of you.
Right.
Yeah, I guess so. Right.
It's noble.
Stepped up.
That's right.
That's right.
I don't mind. I mean, whatever. I mean, like I said, to me, the bass is one of the most important things. You need it.
No, absolutely. Hey, we're half past the hour, so we have to move on to the next block where we're going to be way over time. But
The music.
yeah, right. I mean, what we do is we get into a thing going back and forth, and we just talk forever. And then I'm like, oh God, it's we got an hour left of music to play and 10 minutes left of the show. So we're going to move on to this next block, and then we'll come back right after this. And we're back. I could see in the chat everybody was talking about that all these songs of this last block. But yeah, that Car really did well with that one with JJ Miss for sure. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I love that guitar solo too. That was gorgeous.
Yeah,
smoking.
I'm a big fan of JJ Miss singing. She has a really good tone, for the style of music, especially. So, always happy to see her come across, a song that's on the show. So, for anyone who missed it in the chat, Dominic had to take off for a little bit to tend to some family things. So, we are going to roll solo without him for the moment, but he might be back later, he said. So next up in the show, we do have the first block of Chroma Cloud songs. And when listening to your stuff, and I first noticed this with the drum wave stuff you guys were working on, the overall output of the sound you guys do has a very, how can I say this?
It's bad. We get it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. It has. I've been trying to think about how to bring this up to you publicly on the show in front of everybody, I just couldn't figure it out. No, the sound. Fine. There's something about.
I blame it on Brian.
Oh bad. No. Jamie and I were talking about this all last night over Instagram, and it was just. I was like, him. How can I tell him this? How can I say this to be the most embarrassing? No, you're the output has a very, I don't want to say commercial because I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but it's got that professionally mixed and mastered almost wideness to it and air around it and everything like that. And that's something that not everybody in the community gets. Some of these, if you hear like a professionally done mix, of like a pop song or something like that, it's got a very kind of wide, full sound to it. And all the Chroma Cloud stuff seems to have this. And Brian, you work in this field, right, or something to that extent? Is that right?
Yeah. So,
like, how do you achieve this? Is where I'm going with this.
Again, I'm just pushing buttons. No, I have been obsessed with production since high school and just doing everything I can to learn everything about it. I went to college for it, and then they invited me back to teach, which was incredible.
This all makes sense.
I've always had a passion for just making things just sound top notch.
Yeah.
And so I'm always chasing it, whether I am, listening to modern pop stuff to try and get that kind of polish or whatever it takes. So I just strive for the absolute best that I can do when it comes to anything production or mix related.
It's absolutely working, obviously, because you do hear it. It's got a quality to it. Now you don't have to have this level of quality to make good music, just to be clear. A good song can be a good song, even if it's not mixed that well, in my opinion.
It starts with a great song. Yes.
Right. It starts with a great song. It starts with the emotion you feel from it. You can think of a million popular bands from history that, by today's standards especially, sound awful on recording, but they're classic songs. But, what do you think the biggest mistake is that people make when they're at that kind of final mixing and mastering stage? That, like, can you pinpoint anything? I'm definitely not asking for myself, of course. I'm asking for the broader community.
That's a really interesting question. So you want to know like what people are getting wrong at like that final mixing and mastering stage.
Yeah, I guess what I'm wondering is like, is there something that you hear people doing often and you're like, no, that's wrong?
Okay, so that's an interesting comment because there is no right and wrong. I mean, it's the great thing about art and music is it's totally subjective. So, what works for us with Chroma Cloud is not going to work for, a lot of the other people in the synthwave scene or the pop scene or the metal scene. And so, but I get what you're asking here. And I think a lot of it comes down to, and I'm going to try and say this with as much diplomacy as possible, just thinking you can do it all yourself.
Yeah.
And not reaching out. So like when I first started and when most people first start, I think it's really important to find yourself in a community where you can send your mixes to people and just unashamedly go rip it apart. Tell me how this can be better. And I did that for a long time. I still do that. I still send my mixes to people because I want to get better. And they'll say things like, yeah, well, you know, the sub is kind of all over the place, or I feel like the vocal is a little harsh around that 4K area.
Yep.
And so I think that the biggest mistake, okay, let me backtrack. I think the biggest mistake that people make when they are either making music, whether it's actually in the song production or the mixing or mastering or whatever, is they don't take time away from it. They don't have enough space to give themselves the perspective of what else can I do?
Yeah.
It's like going to a candle shop and just being overwhelmed by all these smells. That's why they have those jars of coffee there, right? So like cleanse your palate. So like if you're too deep in a song, stop producing that song. Stop mixing that song. Go on a walk, spend a couple days from it, listen to other music, get inspired, and then come back to it with fresh ears. Because if you spend 14 hours on a song, it's not going to sound great. 14 hours in a single day, it's not going to sound great.
I can't think of many times with, you know, working on my own music. If I am like, wow, I'm just going to keep going. Oh, wow, this sounds really good. You know, and then you come back the next day and you listen to it and you're like, wow, I need to change a bunch of stuff on this. Like, why did I think that, you know, I needed this huge, you know, high shelf here, or, you know, high pass shelf or something like that. And it's like, where it just, everything is wrong and you have to make like tweaks and adjustments. I've gone through that as well. So that's excellent advice. Because a lot of people I've heard that oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. I think one thing that really helps too is like spend some time away from the song, whatever stage you're in. And then I use Dropbox, so I'm able to, you know, download all the songs on my phone.
Right.
And then I'll go outside or I'll go on a walk away from my DAW. So I don't have Cubase open or anything, but I have my headphones, which tell me everything that I need to know about the song. But I'll listen to the song and I'll have, you know, Google Docs open and I'll create a checklist for me and I'll just write down a bunch of things that I hear so that when I jump back into the mix, I have a to-do list, basically. So I might rip myself apart and be like, man, that bass line is terrible. That needs to be rewritten, or the sound is bad. And it might just be vocals come up 1 dB during the chorus, or whatever. But doing it away from the DAW is going to allow you to think about it with perspective and in a way that you're not tempted to get in there and just start tweaking.
Yeah,
so that when you come back, and I'm crazy ADHD, so if I start on one thing and I don't have a task list, I'm going to focus on that one thing for forever.
Okay.
But if I come back and I have my Google Docs open, I can just boom, knock them out. And I was amazed at how much speed I was gathering when I started utilizing that.
Yeah, that's a good, that's actually a really good advice. I don't do a checklist thing. I definitely do the phone thing though, right? Because I have my earphones on a lot and I know what music sounds like in them. I'm very familiar with that. So then I can hear one of my songs and be like, oh, wow, this sounds very crisp compared to everything else that I'm listening to. You know, and sometimes you can get in that trap where on the DAW on monitors where like if it's very crisp, it sounds clear and awesome. You know, and then you listen to it anywhere else, like in your car, and it's like your ears are bleeding out.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's really important is like before you listen to your song, you know, have a couple of good reference tracks. You know, what is my song close to in vibe and tone? Like what is my what bar am I setting for this song? Listen to those tracks, and then listen to your work in progress.
Yep.
And then you can compare and go, wow, my mix is super dark. I need to do something about that. Or, holy cow, that snare is just way too hot, you know?
Yep.
So having some outside perspective and I wouldn't necessarily call it like you're comparing your art to others. You're just allowing yourself to have a standard that you like. And then you can say, here's what I like about it, here's what I want to hit, and then kind of apply that to your own mix.
Yeah, you're getting out of your own kind of like blinders, right? Like what are those called? Horse blinders or whatever, where you're only kind of referencing to yourself. And you're like, I like how this sounds or whatever. And then you listen to it, compare it against something else, and it's all over the place. It is just,
right. And then
you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you touched on something else that's really important is, it sounds great in the studio, but it sounds like crap everywhere else.
Yeah.
One of the most important things that you need to do as a mixing engineer or a mastering engineer is make sure that your mix translates in as many environments as possible. So
Yep.
like I'm lucky that I'm a professional record producer and I mix for bands and produce for bands all over the world and artists all over the world. And so I have this email template when I send them mixes, and it says, make sure you listen to this at 5 sets of speakers at high and low volumes. Because if you're hearing the same issue across all sets of speakers, then it's a viable issue.
Yeah.
But if you're listening on your phone and you say, yeah, where's the low end? Well, your phone doesn't have low end. So
Right.
I'm not going to be able to use that as a valid comment, So making sure that your mix translates in as many environments as possible.
Yeah, I've got stuff back I've sent to people before where they're giving me all this advice. And then they're at the end of all this advice, they're like, oh, just to let you know, I just listened to this on my phone speaker. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, cool. So you're telling me that the mid and the low highs are good, or whatever?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was kind of useless. But anyways, thank you for answering that question. That was actually very good and in depth.
Thank you.
And very good information and very true and stuff I have to remember. But like I said, we can just keep talking forever, and we have this next block of your guys' stuff coming up. And I'm curious, I went over these. I can go over which ones we're going to be playing again. But for both of you guys, the first song I have up is Mine. And I believe that was the first one. No, it's not my song. It's called Mine. And that was the first one on Bandcamp, I believe, right?
That was our first release.
Yeah, right. Okay. I did. Sometimes people will release stuff and switch dates around or do stuff streaming only. So I was curious. Like, this is the premiere of Chroma Cloud, right? This song.
Correct. Yes.
Exactly.
Is there anything about this first song that is you think people would want to know who are listening that is interesting, or is it just this was where the magic began, or what?
This is kind of us like finding our bearings as like writing partners. I remember Jamie sent me a demo of this song called Mine, and I think that Jamie remind me. I feel like we were referencing like Tainted Love. Is that what it was?
Yeah, Depeche Mode, definitely. I'm hearing like a Depeche Mode because we had
or like
some references.
Jesus.
Yeah, we had some references that we were wanting to kind of like our brand to be like in that genre. And I was like, okay, I really love the Depeche Mode sound. I like that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with that.
Yeah,
and then so we started working on it, and we're just like, make it interesting, make it modern. And so we used all these old sounds, but presented them in a way that was just like fresh and fun.
I love when I hear a duo or a band or even or whatever's first song, and it's really, really good, right? And then because oftentimes it's either a really terrible song and then they get better, or it's a really great first album or first song and then they that was the best they had and they get worse. But you guys released a very, very good song right in the beginning, and in my opinion, is getting better even from that, which has already set a very high bar. So I was very, very excited to hear that this was legitimately the first song, because it makes me feel very, very hopeful for future releases that they're all going to be amazing.
We feel the exact same way. We're very hopeful too.
Right.
Yes.
So anything else? The other songs are No Escape and Dirty Paws. Anything else you want to say about those, or do you want to talk about it after the block?
Yeah, let's talk about it after the block. Let's jump into some tunes.
All right, sounds good. All right, so this next one up is Chroma Cloud with Mine.
You could be creep was colored black by those killing machines. She and her furry friends took down the queen bee and her men. And that's how the story goes. The story of the beast with those cornered paws. La la la. La 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 la. La la la. La 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 la.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm sure you guys already know that, but it is every time I hear your stuff, I'm like, okay, like I got work to do here because this stuff is next level. And you know, I feel like Brian and I have just been nerding out on stuff, but Jamie, your voice is out of this world. I don't know what you've done or how you've done it, but. And I'm not just being nice, you know, when you're on a show like this, they're not going to be like, you were bad or something like that. Every time I hear your guys' stuff, I'm like, oh my God.
Thank you so much.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a blast.
What is, you know, like I said, Brian and I have been talking a lot about stuff. How do you do it? What do you do to make such great
how do
sound?
you do it?
Yeah, how do you do it? Now it's your turn, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think, well, I do the vocals here at my house, and then I just send them to Brian, and then he makes them sound amazing. So, I mean, I have very little skills in production, so he's kind of helped me, kind of guided me on just doing my vocal stuff, so I can handle that. But yeah, I think it's more fun when I'm just in my studio, because we were kind of talking about that earlier. You guys were talking about, you know, just trying to work on your vocals. And I feel like since I've been doing my vocals at home in my own studio where no one can hear me mess up or do weird things, I can just experiment. And so playing with just different kinds of approaches, or, you know, vocal, I guess breathiness, or just the different approaches to how I'm going to sing it has been really fun, and I've learned so much about my voice through that.
Oh, interesting.
So,
do you normally?
It's been a lot of fun.
Do you normally make a bunch of takes and send them over, or?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody works different.
I think the last one that I sent Brian was 90 some tracks.
96 tracks.
Yeah. I'm really sorry, but I couldn't decide which one I liked better.
The biggest
so you can
vocal
just
stack ever, right?
Yeah,
at the
it was
96
ridiculous.
track vocal stack. Get to work.
Yeah. Yep. But it's fun, you know, because I can just, you know, have fun with it. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, keep doing whatever you're doing, because it is working very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was like I said, you know, this is one reason I like having people live on with the chat, because you get instant feedback from it, right? Which is fun, and I think everybody agrees with me. But yeah, that song "No Escape," I saw some people talking about how it was a little bit more of a hard sound, you know, more aggressive, I guess you could say. And another comment I saw is you have a similar but not samey sound all the time, you know, with your guys' songs. So is that, how does that work? Do you just kind of write whatever you're feeling at the time? Are there plans for this? How does this shake out to make such similar, you know, you can tell it's Chroma Cloud, but it's not just here's another Chroma Cloud song that sounds kind of the same as the last one.
Yeah, I think we kind of having a variety. We don't want to just stick to one sound and then everything sound the same.
Yeah.
And I'm not that kind of a writer anyway. I kind of have an eclectic kind of sound, just my solo stuff. So I think that's kind of where it comes from. It's just like I listen to so many different, like Brian and I both, we listen to so many different kinds of music.
Yeah.
It's not just synth pop, it's like everything. So I just pull from just different genres when I'm writing, and then we make it synth pop.
I'm about to ask a question that I might not know your answer to, so forgive me, but like, who's an inspiration for you personally from singing?
For me?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh my God. So
I should
I grew
identify
up,
who I'm
like,
talking to.
No, it's like I grew up on, my dad was a huge, like, you know, he grew up in the 60s. So he loved Mamas and Papas. And I grew up with Fleetwood Mac. Like, he loved Fleetwood Mac. So that's like one of like my biggest things. And then Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
I love Alanis Morissette so much. Like, I got a lot of her, kind of just like the falsetto stuff into like the full voice. I love that so much. But yeah, she was a huge influence on me because at the time there weren't that many women songwriters just saying whatever they wanted.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
It was empowering me. It was like, that's empowering. Like, I can say the things that other people are afraid to say and just do it. So yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Huge influence.
Yeah. The reason I preface that is because sometimes I'll ask this question and the answer is some singer I've never heard of before. And it's like, oh, you don't know like Mary Willis or whatever. And it's some huge singer everyone has heard of but me. So, but yes, no, I'm familiar with everybody you're talking about. Obviously, like very familiar.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And then, that the cover of Dirty Paws, I love that you guys do covers that, in the kind of Chroma Cloud sound, I guess you could say, because they're really good. Covers are really easy to do badly, I think, or to make them too samey, that kind of thing. So it's kind of like sometimes you'll hear a cover and you're like, who is this for? Or like, why would you reach for this versus the original? And so for that one, it's fantastic. And what we're going to hear in this next block, I also agree, is an exceptional cover that you guys have done. So I guess for Brian, I mean, how does this work? How do you decide on these covers? Does somebody just shoot an idea to back and forth?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just we have ideas, and we'll text each other back and forth and be like, oh man, it'd be really cool if we do this song. Yeah. And oftentimes it's just met with, yeah. Cool.
Right. Cool.
And then the conversation dies. And I'm like, okay, now I know we're not going to do that one yet.
Right.
But sometimes we just talk about, songs we really like. I think, Jamie, we were at Rambling House, which is a performing center here in Columbus, Ohio. And we just started talking about old music we liked. And Dirty Paws came up, and I can't remember who said it, but the other one was like, oh my God, that's one of my favorite songs ever. And how cool would it be if we covered that? And that was the end. Like, we're like, okay, yeah, we absolutely have to do this. So a lot of it is just like organic conversation. Yeah. And Jamie will tell you this too, is sometimes I just get it in my head that like, I need to cover this song. And so I'll just send her like, okay, here's a, Slipknot duality. Right. And I sent her that, and she's like, that was never on the calendar, but okay.
I'm waiting for
Brian.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I'm used to Brian just coming up with an idea one morning. Like, he'll just like text me in the morning, like, I want to do this, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man.
By lunch, the track is fleshed out.
Right. You're like, here, it's completely finished. No worries. Yeah. I spent all night on it. Right.
Yeah. Can you get vocals on this? I have until 3 p.m.
Right. Yeah, Brian, I'm waiting for the a cover of Take the Time if you ever want to get inspired by Dream Theater, of course.
God. I can't play guitar anymore, so I'd have to hire someone.
All synth, Take the Time.
Ooh, oh my God. All right. Challenge heard,
right?
I don't know about accepted yet.
No, that is. I love how you guys work. It seems like a very organic thing. I don't know. Every time you're talking about how this comes together, it just seems so correct to me. I'm like, okay, this is how it should work. This is a very good duo, and this is how, I think bands should work. Not like you throwing a bunch of songs at the wall, and Jamie is like, well, I guess I'll just do this, and you're releasing a bunch of stuff. It seems like you guys are both really happy with everything you put out, which is excellent. Mm-hmm. And I can tell by the production and the sound and everything.
Yeah. I mean, if we're not both 1,000% stoked with what we do, we just agonize over it until it's done.
Yeah. We have some half-written songs like that. We're still trying to decide whether it's gonna happen or not. But that's the process, I mean, you just kind of have to work through all the things until something's like, oh my God, yeah, this is definitely happening. And,
right. Like, this is it. You get that feeling, I know, inside where you're like, okay, this one is going forward. This is the one we choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes we'll just bash our heads over a verse for 4 hours and be like, we'll just look at each other and be like, we're wasting our time, aren't we? Yeah, we are. Okay,
oh my God,
let's move on to another song.
So Brian, how long did it take us almost all summer to come up with Flames in the Sky being the main part of the chorus? We agonized over that 100 freaking times.
Yep.
We changed the title. I know.
I feel like, man, it took us forever to come up with that.
It did. It was all summer. I'm like, what are we going to decide upon? Something.
It's a great
But we
hook.
finally figured it out.
That hook, that's actually the first song that's up in the next block. And that hook, when Jay showed me this song, I was like, yo, what? He's like, yeah, I'm just doing this project. Check this out. And I'm like, okay. This is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he was so patient. He was so patient with us. He's just the greatest person in the world. He's just such a great human.
I'm really glad that I met Jay. I'm really glad I met him. I mean, I've talked to him on the show here, as you know, and we've gone back and forth with various things. And he is such a cool guy. So I feel exactly the same. So we have a surprise song, which I know you alluded to on Instagram a little bit, coming up in this next block. How do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about it a little bit now? Do you want to announce it now, come back after, or just leave it totally a surprise?
We can announce it now, and then if we have time, we'd love to come back and chat about how it became what it is, and why we did it, and all the things. Yeah,
we definitely have time. If you guys are okay, we can go over a little bit, because the show itself is definitely going to go over a little bit, because we play 3 tracks at the end.
Yeah.
But we can definitely go over a little bit on time if we need to as well. So, all right. So do you want to go ahead? You can talk about it just for a second, announce it if you'd like, and then we can come back after and we'll talk a little bit more about it.
Sweet. Yeah. So coming out this Thursday is our cover of the Sleep Token song Granite from Take Me Back to Eden. We both love this entire album, and I think this is one of the greatest songs ever written, bar none, metal band or any other song. So we put our spin on it, and we're really excited to show it. So thank you for the exclusive drop.
And thank you for the early access stuff. I love when bands are like, can I play something that's not released yet? It's like, fine, I guess. It's like, amazing. Absolutely. Of course you can. All right. So that will be last in this block. That will be the third song. And you'll see it if you're on the stream here. You'll see it up there.
I'm sure you'll stick around.
Yeah, for sure. Because I'm very interested to hear people's responses to this. I think it's a fantastic cover. I have a suspicion other people will agree. So, all right, let's get going into the next block, and we'll catch up after.
Draw like a moth to flames, pull to the sky. memory. Can you recall what you have seen? It's bigger than your greatest wish. It's how it's meant to be.
Well, I think that it went over pretty well. That is incredible. And you should be really proud of yourselves for that. I can't believe it. I mean, it... Whew. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm speechless after after all that. I guess these are good responses,
Thank
right?
you.
know, I'll come on and just be like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Top level. I mean, incredible. And again, the production is just out of this world. I've been getting a few messages behind the scenes like, oh my God, this sounds incredible. Or these people are like, who are these people and everything. So the response is very positive.
Live
I
stream.
guess.
It's YouTube just adding that little bit of extra magic. Our songs don't actually sound that great.
Right. Right. You listen to them after and it's just like, oh my God, what is this?
Oh, jeez. Ugh.
Right. If only you had that like streaming compression on everything, that it would sound just incredible.
Oh, yeah. Only there was a plugin.
I have found that though
Yeah.
in some live stream stuff where they'll play like something I've done and I'd be like, wow, this sounds pretty good. You know, and then you hear your version, you're like, oh, it's not as like tight sounding because the compression does add some stuff to it. But I suspect that's not what's happening here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So for anybody just joining, that comes out when again?
This Thursday.
This Thursday, right? So, and I put a link for the pre-save when I announced it, but I'm going to drop it again in the chat right now. So, yes, definitely everybody should pre-save that and then pick it up when it comes out. But how have you guys felt with I've always wondered this. So like, you know, there's streaming and then there's Bandcamp and then there's, you know, you can purchase it on iTunes or whatever. Where do you guys get the most traction with stuff?
Probably
I feel
Spotify,
like,
you think? Or?
yeah, it's got to be Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's very interesting. I've noticed some people do really, really well on Bandcamp and then not so good on streaming, or really well on streaming and not good on Bandcamp. And I haven't checked any of your guys' stuff, so this is a legit cold question. But like, so streaming seems to be where you're getting the most attention then, huh?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have all of our stuff available on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
For anybody that wants to purchase the songs, they're available. But we do a lot of pushes to Spotify, and we try to do playlisting and try and maximize our reach as much as possible. And we've found that Spotify just has the best response for us, honestly.
Yeah, I've felt something similar for my stuff. Outside of like physicals, you know, if you're selling a physical version of something, Bandcamp is obviously the way to go for that. But yeah, I don't know. I was just curious. But shoot, what was it? I lost track of the next question I had. It was related to this, but we can just move on. As far as, I guess, future stuff, do you have any other, like, do you have covers that you're willing to talk about now you're coming up with, or are you just focusing on original stuff now?
We're doing a combination of both, actually. So we're trying to, we love the cover thing, because like you mentioned, the song's already written. We just got to put our spin on it, so it makes it really easy. And you know, we're trying to play the algorithm game as much as possible, and it's a lot easier to feed the algorithm with tunes when there's something already written, that we were not like bashing our heads against the wall, you know, trying to write that verse for 4 hours. Someone else already did it.
We're all
so
summer.
we're doing a combination of both.
Oh, I said for all summer, right? Like the drum wave thing.
Right.
Yeah, we will not be doing that with covers,
Right.
thankfully.
No, not at all. No, but so we're releasing Granite, the Sleep Token cover, on Thursday. We've got a couple others that we're cooking up right now. Last year, we did kind of a short TikTok cover of Last Christmas.
Oh, cool.
And we are working on a full-length version of that right now, which will likely get released around December.
Really?
So
December? What a weird time to release that song.
I know, yeah.
I was waiting for you to
We
say
have Christmas
like
in July.
right. I was waiting for you to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
like March or something of next year.
Yeah.
Got to give it some time to
Last
bubble up
October,
and right.
you know.
Want to give it a lot of lead time here to get attention, right? You may have answered this in the chat. I thought I saw this, but just in case, any plans for album coming up, or are these singles the way you're doing stuff right now?
We've talked about doing an album, just the collection of songs that we have been writing, and that's kind of where we're projecting, but
yeah. So is the
we're
plan,
still working on that.
Is the plan to
Yeah.
do, because I know some people do this where you release, a bunch of singles and then that becomes the album with maybe like 2 or 3 songs that weren't released as singles? Is that the idea, or?
Yeah, we'd
Okay.
like to have a couple songs on there that haven't been released yet as part of the album.
Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've noticed that
Yeah,
people do it
totally.
all sorts of different ways. Like some people will release singles and then they're like, these are my singles, right? And then the album is all new stuff, that kind of stuff. But a lot of people seem to do it this way, which seems to be a really good method, because you already can get people's attention and they already like the songs, and then you got to get the album to hear all this new stuff too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're both coming out of like the 80s and 90s kind of method where you drop a song or two and then the album comes out.
Yeah.
And albums used to be king.
Right.
And with the way the industry's been changing, it's now moving towards the single or the short performance. And so that's where we've been leaning. And then when it makes sense for the album to come together, that's when we'll, put plans in motion for that. We'll promote it hard, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it'll be, a combination of stuff that you've heard before, new material, all those things.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to that, of course. I was just talking with somebody on Instagram about this. They about purchasing stuff. I normally purchase everything for this show, but you guys were nice enough to send it all over, so I'll definitely be picking up all your guys' stuff after, whether you like it or not.
Oh, very kind of you.
Because people are always like, no, I already sent it to you, and it's like, no, I must own this, because God only knows if my hard drive dies or whatever. I need to be able to then re-download this on Bandcamp, because everything is just so incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh no, thank you. It's always great when you find a band that is just like exceptional and you can support them in ways like doing a show like this, or just even a single purchase goes somewhere and shows people that at least you can give something back to a band that you really like.
Means
Okay.
a lot.
Oh,
Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
it
Sure.
really does. Yeah. Sitting here just smiling as you're saying all
Oh,
this.
okay. Good.
It's awesome. This is like what we were really hoping for when we first started this, that people would enjoy it as much as we love making it. So
Yeah,
that means a lot.
That is the best.
And just watching all the comments in the chat, y'all are giving me a huge dopamine hit. I don't know about Jamie, but
Yeah, for sure.
so it's really nice to hear that these songs we've been working on for 2+ years, they are they're apparently hitting. We're just excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me they are, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Absolutely, and it seems like with everyone else too. So that's excellent. Looking at the time, like I said, we could go over. We will go over a little bit for sure. Got about 15 minutes until the show's technically supposed to end, and we have another block before we come back and we can say our goodbyes, and then there's another block after that. Is there anything you guys want to say before we get into this next block, or should we just wait and say our goodbyes after and promote stuff or whatever?
Oh, we can talk a little bit after the block, but if anybody in the chat or any participants are heading out, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited with the reception that we got for Granite. And if you want to hear it again, you can go and pre-save it. It comes out Thursday and will also be available to purchase on Bandcamp and all the streaming services. So if you want to hear it again, that's what you got to do.
Is the pre-save link on your website? I forgot to check that because I have your website pinned to the
not
top.
on our website yet. It is on our Instagram, and so you can follow us at Chroma Cloud Band on Instagram. I need to get better at doing the pre-save stuff on the website. So
Oh, it's all good. I deleted your main thing and put the pre-save pin to the top of the chat. So that's what I was asking.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go on to this next block, and then we'll come back and we can talk a little bit before we sign off.
beauty.
Sounds good.
away, we've got to get away. Get away, we've got to get away. Into your arms, I need to get away. Sound the alarm, we need to get away. We have to get away. Let's drive. I have to get away. I want to confess, I need to get away. Away from this mess. We need to get away. We have to get away into the night. We
And we're and we're back. You know, I don't think I can clear my throat enough before I come back, and it always has a problem. So, but hey, live stream, right? Live radio, they say. So, anyways, so we are at the top of the hour. This show always goes so fast for me. And if Dominic was here, he would say the same thing. But I really appreciate you guys coming on. It's been really fun for me. I'm very excited that you were able to make the time work and everything. Like I said, the middle of the day on a Tuesday is kind of a hard ask sometimes for people. So thank you both for making the time to come on.
Thank you
We've had
so
a
much for
blast.
having us. Yeah.
Thank you a ton.
So now I know we just talked about the Chroma Cloud stuff, but Jamie, you've been talking about your other project as well, your solo project. Do you want to plug that?
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, I've got some songs already out on Spotify under Jamie Ravine, and then you can follow me on Instagram, Jamie Ravine Music, and of course Brian does the production on those as well. I have a couple versions of the songs that we have released as Chroma Cloud. I also have as Jamie Ravine. So No Escape is one of them. That's a more cinematic type of a version of the song, which is the original. And then Brian was like, ooh, I want to try doing this as Chroma Cloud. Would you care? And I'm like, of course not. I don't care. That's going to be freaking amazing. So yeah, you can check those out. And I've got more coming this summer. Brian and I are going to work on some more of my solo stuff as well as Chroma Cloud. So we're going to be just cranking them out.
That's fascinating that you can hear the alternate versions too. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Can one of you, I don't know who it would be easier for, send, I don't know, Brian, if you're on a computer or what, but is there a link for you could drop, either like Spotify or whatever you think would be the best for people to hear you? Your solo stuff?
For Jamie Ravine?
Yeah, for the solo stuff.
Yeah, let me grab that real fast. And then
He's way more tech savvy than me.
Well, I think I saw on our Discord call that you're on a phone, right? So I didn't know how easy it would be to.
I am, yes.
So how easy it would be. Can you just fumble for a minute during the end of the show and get me this link?
Right, exactly. Like, give me like 20 minutes.
Right, give me 20 minutes. We'll just sit here in silence and wait, right? While you do it.
And hear me like say profanities as I'm trying to do it and I'm screwing everything up.
Why do you keep closing? What? Okay, over and over again.
Yep. That would happen.
Yeah,
I appreciate you having us so much.
Sure.
This has been an absolute blast to do on a Tuesday. So thank you so much for having us. And we have such an awesome community of people and just so much talent out there in this genre. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like that all the time. Getting involved in this and getting involved in the community is definitely one of the bright spots in my life currently. I've been in and out for about 2 years, I think. So it is, something every day that is just super fun to be a part of and funny and interesting. And, there's been positives and tragedies, and you've been there for people's kids' births and all, it's very interesting. It's just, that's so cool. I do believe it's very unique to many other music genres out there, because I know people in different genres and they don't have any of this. And when I try to explain to them, they're like, oh, well, it's just a bunch of people dropping pre-save links, right? Or something. And I'm like, well, that does happen also, because everyone is always promoting, but there's so much more and so much connection you make with these people you meet and everything. So.
Yep.
Yeah. And man, I just got to brag on you for a second. Like the fact that you're so involved in the community and are spearheading a lot of it. Whether it's the engagement or the conversation or just trying to bring people together. Like, we don't see that, like you said, in a lot of other genres. So thank you for being just a beacon in this amazing community of synthwave and synth artists.
Wow, thanks, man. I really appreciate you saying that. That's really nice. See, now it's my turn to feel good. This is great. You're like, at the end, you're like, it's I'm sure you're proud to have us on, right? Or something like that, right? I'm like, oh.
We're waiting.
Right. And your nice thing to say about me, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Go on. So,
no.
I see the link
very
there.
genuinely, though. Like, we're very we feel very blessed to be on your show. So
Cool. Thank you.
so much
Absolutely.
for having us.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to drop this link for Jamie in the chat right now. And everybody should check this out. I too am opening it up.
Yeah,
Watch it. I'll open it up. Watch it destroy the whole stream, right, or something. Right? It's just stuck playing Jamie's music over and over again. I can't stop it. Right.
Yeah. So this
Well,
is
thank
Jamie's solo version of No Escape. We recorded it. Oh my God! Like 2 years ago, I think is when it came
Yeah,
out.
it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you like that, please visit her artist profile and listen to everything else that she has because it's all phenomenal.
Fine, I guess I will. Right. No, very much looking forward to that. Thank you
Not
for sending
Synthwave,
that.
but still
Yeah, it is
very,
not.
very, very
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, but an amazing
Yeah,
voice,
thank you.
and I can't wait to check this all out. Okay, so we have 3 songs left. If you guys got to bail, you can. If not, keep your mics on mute, and we can talk for a minute after the show until these are done. Any last minute words or things you want to promote? I know Dominic would always say at the end, if he was here, to remember to be kind to each other, because like one small form of kindness goes a long way with people, which I absolutely agree with.
Agreed. Definitely.
I
with
don't
that.
think we can follow that up with any kind of plug.
Right.
Right.
And
So anyways,
not look
buy
like
my
dirt.
shirt and
Yeah.
feel good about yourself. Yeah.
Anyway, like and subscribe. You
Yeah,
know.
right. Make sure you follow me on Spotify, and if you have any extra cash, send it my way. Right?
yeah. Cash app us at
Right, I'll drop all your cash transfer links here.
Right. Yeah. No. Again, thank you to everybody that joined us. And we're so stoked with how all of our music has been received. And again, if you want to hear it again, most of our stuff is already on Spotify, save for Granite, which comes out Thursday, and the pre-save is at the top of the chat. Thank you again for posting that. And thanks again for having us.
Good, my pleasure. One thing I will say before I start this next block is this last block are all RetroSynth artists that we currently have available on vinyl. So if you're interested in any of these records, you can head over to the Bandcamp page, retrosynthrecords.bandcamp.com, and pick these up on vinyl. And I also want to make a plug for MCTV, Midnight City Television, which is our television app that we have out on Roku, Apple, and on Google. And it is envision, 2000 never happened, and it's still like the 1980s and 90s MTV. There's going to be more original shows coming. This is like a streaming channel that you can get on your Google TV or Apple TV or phone or Roku and that kind of stuff. And that is on the left side of the screen too for those QR codes. So definitely check those out. We're going to be talking a lot more about that because a lot of stuff is really happening with that coming in the near future. So anyways, thank you again for everybody for joining. As I always say, it's my favorite day of the week and my favorite 2 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever. And I appreciate everybody in the chat. And we will see you next week.
Thank you so much.
easily. Your beauty got the best of me. For everyone it's clear to see. So I just wander aimlessly, aimlessly, easily. I'm spellbound to the core of me. So I just wander aimlessly. The street's my only friend. The street's my only friend. The street's my only friend. Come stay with me as the watery reflection shimmers endlessly. Iridescence, no distractions, only you and me. And the night will fade away as we shed your tears, your tears. Come stay with me in the lunar light, our shadows dancing peacefully. The smiling in the air, the taste of destiny. And the night will fade away as we shed your tears, your tears. Painfully, time is running out, you see. There's nothing really there for me. And yet I have to go. And yet I have to go. And yet I have to. Don't let's go. Don't look back, just go. Come stay with me as the watery reflection shimmers endlessly. There is essence, no distractions, only you and me. And the night will fade away as we shed your tears, your tears. Come stay with me in the lunar light, our shadows dancing peacefully. I'm smiling in the air, the taste of destiny. And the night will fade away as we share